Okay. So, yeah. So Black August Los Angeles, as you know, started out, from partly, carrying on the work of Black August and the Black August resistance, where, people who had been incarcerated, people who had been prisoners, and especially those affiliated with the teachings of Comrade George Jackson, who most people consider a political prisoner, but who did not become incarcerated as a political prisoner. He became incarcerated as a robber, stealing $70 from a gas station robbery. And his influence in the prison movement was great. It was almost unparalleled, I think, with the formation of, and he didn't do it, but he was part of this movement. He credited W.L. Nolan, or William Christmas, and a lot of people who aren't so well known with putting together a movement to change the criminal mentality into a revolutionary mentality. They said, we're going to save people. We're going to, by having them work for revolutionary change. There was the political component and then this military component within the prison. His assassination after a rebellion where there were guards killed, he was also accused of killing a guard, and that resulted in the Soledad brothers case. But the San Quentin 6 case involved various inmates, various prisoners, some of whom we've had here in the Afiba Center during the Black August, who have been since been released. There's one still in prison, and now it's Rochelle McGee, who has been in prison now since the early 60s. Now, whether or not he's a political prisoner, under some definitions he is not, and cannot be, because he went in for, again, social offenses, maybe even predatory behavior in the Black community. But since his incarceration and his association and his actions, he, at least by Black August Los Angeles and many others, considered a political prisoner. So Black August Los Angeles comes from this tradition. Black August was founded by prisoners, Katari Golden, one who was himself injured and allowed to bleed out and die. Instead of getting treatment immediately, they just took their time and allowed him to expire without proper treatment. It was the comrades inside who started pushing Black August. Jitu Sabiki, and who you well know pretty much, was one of those who it was in that founding cadre of Black August, and practiced it for that very first time while incarcerated. Came out to the streets And I give that background, not just as like talk about Black August, but those people who are inside, if they are caught with anything related to Black August or anything related to George Jackson, can be disciplined and disciplined severely. So, and I wanted to, again, I know some of you have heard me refer to this case in Ray Furnace. And it's kind of a case which was a 2010 case. And it is, to me, it's like
federal case.
It's a state case.
It's a state case.
It's a state case. And you know, it's like, well, you guys are just kind of guessing and you're making up stuff. But here it is in print, why he's put in the shoe, which is, basically the hole, and people for an indefinite term. And they said he's serving a life term without possibility of parole for special circumstance murder, validated as an associate member of a prison gang, transferred to the security housing unit, the SHU, at Corcoran State Prison. He argues that evidence used to validate him and place him in the SHU for an indeterminate term was false, unreliable, and insufficient. We will deny his petition for writ of habeas corpus. So what happened is in 2008, he was incarcerated, and they said he had information related to the VGF prison gang. The item, a piece of paper including the name, department number, and institutional housing of Hugo Pinel, a validated member of VGF, housed at Pelican Bay Prison. So it's like a little piece of paper. So no instructions to kill anybody, no parts of secret message or anything like that, but just his name and his number. Something pretty much anybody could have. And then they also found, this is where it gets really interesting, also found that his personal property was a book entitled Fascism. Its most advanced form is Here in America by George L. Jackson. A brief history of the life and death of George L. Jackson appears on the inside, front, and back covers of the book. Inside the cover, the book is titled Revolutionary Armed Struggle and outlines the formation and function of a guerrilla group. Also found was an audio compact disc, a CD entitled Prisons on Fire, George Jackson, Attica and Black Liberation. CD reviewed the life of George Jackson, etc. It contained titles, Soledad Brothers, Marine County, etc. So basically, it's references to George Jackson. Two other items were a photocopied flyer promoting a 2005 Black August event in Oakland, California, and a photocopied newspaper article explaining the meaning of Black August. So again, no plot, no plan, no, hey, welcome comrade to the organization, anything like that. The flyer promoting the 2005 Black August contained pictures of a dragon and George Jackson. He said, well, I am not, he says that he was not a gang member or an associate. He said he was researching information up in Yale. He was going to contact him regarding research for a children's book. He was writing and staying away from gangs in prison. When asked about the pictures of George Jackson, he stated, it's just a book. He said, having the book didn't make him a BGF member any more than reading Stalin made him a communist or reading the Quran made him an Al-Qaeda. As for the documents regarding Black August, Furnace said he did not know anything about the BGF, but they were just newspaper articles from a public newspaper. The really unusual thing about this is that he got these materials from the prison itself. He requested these materials. they gave it to me. And then they turned around and said, you're a gang member based on these materials. So just the mere possession of this political literature, and also if you speak Swahili, if you put down August 21st, which was the day George Jackson was assassinated, anything, if you talk about Black history, they could use that to validate you as a gang member and put you in a 4x8 cell for decades. And people have been locked up in the SHU for decades. So they said, well, we really don't care where you got it. You had it.
Contraband.
But it wasn't contraband. They gave it to him.
Okay.
They gave it to him. He didn't smuggle it in. He asked for it. They gave it to him. And then they said, oh, you're in possession of this material that we don't like. Now, it's like, is the left hand know what the right hand's doing? You know, the canteen, we'll take your money and we'll give it to you. But then the people who are in charge of securing the institution, he said, but you never said it was illegal or contraband. It's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so this is one thing. Now, the other document that shows the politics of incarceration in terms of directly tagging someone as a political prisoner. You all know who Trippie Williams is, right? He was executed. And his case, again, a very unusual case. It's like, almost like, are you serious? Are you serious? Because when he applied for clemency, he had, again, renounced gang violence, apologized. It's like, I started this thing and it's horrible, so I'm trying to mitigate the damage. I'm writing books. I'm, turned a new leaf. I have changed my mind, which is, what prison's supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to rehabilitate you. Yeah, rehabilitate you. That's one of the functions. Punish you and rehabilitate you. But he asked Arnold Schwarzenegger, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, for clemency. The Terminator. He lived up to his name. So in his statement of decision, it's 5 pages, he spends basically the first part, these are the crimes he was convicted of. The second part, you say it was an unfair trial, but I don't think so. And so, yeah, you did it. Now, Trippie said that he didn't do it, but Schwarzenegger said, yeah, you did it. And you writing books. Trippie Speaks Out Against Gang Violence, a book series, in 1998, Life in Prison was published, and then 2004, Blue Rage, Black Redemption. And an interesting, on page 4, an interesting paragraph. It's hard to assess the effects of such efforts in terms of his writing books and such. Such efforts in concrete terms, continued pervasiveness of gang violence leads one to question the efficacy of Williams' message. He co-founded the Crips. Notice notorious street gang that has contributed and continues to contribute to predatory and exploitative violence. Well, yeah, everybody knows that. This is not news. It's like, nothing has changed. It's not like he started establishing new cells or chapters or whatever in prison or anything like that. No allegation, but said when he started the Crips. And it wasn't efficient. Well, Crash. Was Crash efficient? You know, the Community Resource Against Street Bullying, the LAPD. They would have Operation Hammer and Operation this and do that, and they would smash and they would tear up homes, like destroy an apartment building on Dalton Street. So is the efficacy of this, yeah, the battery, all the efficacy of his methods of writing books is questionable. Well, what's all that other garbage that they did? Flashbang, SWAT, everything else, did that stop the Crips?
Red Squad?
Well, the Red Squad, the Blue Squad, the Black Squad, whatever, the squad.
Right.
And same at the, whatever, the OSS, or the Sheriff's Department. But this is where it gets political again, on page 4. The dedication of Williams' book, Life in Prison, cast significant doubt on his personal redemption. The book was published in 1998, several years after Williams' acclaimed redemptive experience. Specifically, the book is dedicated to Nelson Mandela, Angela Davis, Malcolm X, Assata Shakur, Geronimo G. Jaga Pratt, Ramona Africa, John Africa, Leonard Peltier, Dhoruba al-Mujahid, George Jackson, Mumia Abu Jamal, and the countless other men, women, and youths who have had to endure hellish oppression and living behind bars. And they state the mix of individuals in this list is curious. Most have violent past, and some have been convicted of committing heinous crimes, including the killing of law enforcement. Angela Davis was never convicted, or has a background in killing law enforcement. Neither has Malcolm X.
It was just black.
They were black and political. Nelson Mandela apparently had become, at this point, had become a hero to the world for his principled stand of how can I renounce violence when you or people are so violent to my people? And while he was a member of Mkonde Sizwe, and he might have been some kind of commander, the world said, you know what? You are worthy of emulation and adulation. Assata Shakur, she didn't kill anybody. She was shot while her hands were. So that's one. Geronimo G. Jaga, again, his conviction, sketchy and doubtful. Ramona Africa.
She was a victim herself.
Ramona Africa? What? John Africa, who had his head blown off by the police when they bombed the Move House in Philadelphia. Leonard Peltier, whose trial was a travesty of justice. Dhoruba al-Mujahid, actually I think it's Ben Mujahid. They overturned his conviction after decades because it was shown that it was a corrupt prosecution and as part of COINTELPRO. George Jackson was never convicted of murdering anybody. Mumia and countless other men, women, and youth. So it's like, it's the mix. But then he says, on page 5, the top of page 5, but the inclusion of George Jackson on this list defies reason. It is a significant indicator that Williams is not reformed at all, that he still sees violence and lawlessness as a legitimate means to address societal problems. Explicitly a political reason for denying clemency. Now, this is someone at his funeral at, what's the church, Bethel, New Bethel? On Western, there were gangs in the parking lot making truces. the rolling 40s and the rolling 30s, made a truce right there in the parking lot. You know, because every year at the King Parade, remember every year, there was always violence at the King Parade because that's the border, the King Boulevard is separated. They got together and put together a truce right there. What could he have done with all these murders? Just like before the 1992 rebellion, those gangs in Watts, Grave Street, bounty hunters, the PJ Watts from the Imperial Courts, and some others got together, did a truce, and just that small group right there, gang violence was up here, especially black gang violence, it just fell off to almost nothing. What could Tookie Williams have done had he lived? And continued on the road he was continuing. But he came in as a social prisoner. He committed offense. If he committed those offenses, he committed those things, convicted of offenses against, murders against people. But they applied specifically. It's like, yeah, well, that's what, when people get killed, when people get convicted of murder, yeah, they get convicted of murder. They have done things. But to say, you like George Jackson, so you're worthy of death.
Right.
When George Jackson said specific, so we're trying to change George Jackson and his comrades. We're trying to change a criminal mentality into a revolutionary mentality. It's kind of like the Nation of Islam. People say, oh my God, the Nation of Islam is full of criminals and terrible people. Like Malcolm X. He was a terrible person. He said, I'm probably the worst person you could imagine. I've done all kind of dirt. He said, but just like in the Panther Party, he said, you want to fight a revolution? Well, here's a book, and here's an apron and a spatula so you can make breakfast. I said, well, I thought I was going to fight a revolution. Well, this is part of the revolution. And changing, especially lumping people from the lumpen class, lumpen proletariat class, to change their relationship to society, to be of service to society. And the Nation of Islam did the same thing. It's like, okay, rather than say, look, you ain't gonna rob nobody no more. What you're gonna do is take this pink box and stand on the corner of Slauson and Crenshaw and sling bean pies. You're not gonna sling dope, you're gonna sling bean pies.
And the final call.
And the final call. Back then there was Muhammad's
Bahamas speech, right?
So, and whether or not all black people are political prisoners, because we have an oppressive government that treats black people differently and always has, always has. And we went from chattel slavery to slavery by another name. So yes, under this political scheme of this country, it benefits this country to apply a political solution, like I said, even way back then to now. Even Richard Nixon talked about, well, you can't make black people illegal, but heroin is illegal. We can do a war on drugs. But to me, that's a different question, because what you have now is people who they have accused of being associated with people who are followers of George Jackson, who have been in the hole, in the shoe for 10, 20, 30, 45 years, in the case of Hugo Pinell. And they say, you know what? And then when it's declared illegal and a violation of human rights. Like, Donald, I'm sorry, could you read that one paragraph at the top of the page? That one paragraph.
Solitary confinement should be banned absolutely for being in violation of international human rights laws standards, particularly those found in the United Nations Covenant Against Torture and other cruel and inhuman, degrading treatments or punishment, the United Nations standards, minimum rules on the treatment of prisoners.
Right, so if any of you have seen Jitu Siddiqui, you know, he makes a little cell, a little 4x8 cell, which is about maybe not as wide as between the two doors and coming out 4 feet. And imagine spending 40 years of your life in that little space. That's torture. It actually drives people insane.
In fact, in those now, you can't put an animal.
Right. You can't put an animal in.
Right. Yeah, they had to revisit that issue. Real spaces, I would move in.
But to have a political criteria, so somebody comes in, they've done some kind of offense against the public. And while in there, they have said, they have been determined to have not continued on the path of being a social villain, but that of a revolutionary. Their politics have changed. And so when under special circumstances murder, life without parole, he was walking around. But oh my God, he has literature on George Jackson and Black August. That's worthy to put you in a 4x8 cell indefinitely. If he wasn't political when he came in, he's political now, and because of his politics, he's in prison. His conditions of imprisonment have changed. And what's happened now, since that was declared illegal, their confinement was declared illegal, they had to release parole. They said, but you know, we're not gonna let you go. Yeah, I know, we could consider you for parole, but you can't be considered for parole until you do programming. So, but you've had me locked up for 20 years in a 4x8 cell. So where people could be programmed and go to school and get a job and, you know, show that you're worthy and trustworthy and stuff, where you could have shown that had you not been locked in a cell because you were you're validated as a so-called gang member or a threat to the institution because you got a flyer about Black August. So this is what we want to change, because you know, Anarchist Black Cross Federation has a criteria for political prisoners, and they say, you know, and it's a great organization, worthy organization. We use the materials, you know, Roland especially would always have fresh ABCF materials at the breakfast. Remember, you have the tape, all that literature. But their definition of political prisoner says if you are a social prisoner, you know, you might be a good person once you're inside, but you cannot be a political prisoner. And I believe the Jericho movement has the same definition. So we would like, and this is why we came to Joko, because, you know, their heads are so huge, massively huge, full of brains, and can help untie some of these knots. And hopefully, because, you know, I could do it with, you know, I could come up with my definition, but really, it would be good to have these minds behind it, and not some theoretical thing, but some actual thing, so we can really help and hopefully change people's minds so they can get some support, because they've received no support or very little support except from their most immediate comrades. So they don't get a whole bunch of stuff like living criteria. It's like, they're not considered. People almost like buying into the states, like, these are monsters, these are crazy people, these are, but as In Ray Furnace shows, it takes something as little as getting stuff from the institution.
Self-contradiction.
But getting materials from the institution and then being saying you're in possession of stuff from the institution.
Who in the institution gave him the material? Was it a guard, was it?
He ordered, and they said, what do you want? And he said, I want these things. They said, okay. They ordered it, it came. It's like through the regular process. Yeah, through the mail. And so then when they gave it to him, soon after, I guess somebody said, hey, Ernest has materials about George Jackson and Black August. So out of that, he gets tagged a gang member, Black Gorilla family. He's validated as a gang member.
If the material was considered contraband, they would have written him up, they would have given him a 115.
Yeah, and if it was contraband, they wouldn't have given him.
They wouldn't have given it to him at all.
At all. He said, I want a CD with George Jackson. They said, man, you crazy. This is illegal. But it's not.
We used to get blood in my eye through the mail.
Yeah, well, not anymore. Apparently.
Absolutely.
And if you do, you're in trouble. And this is why when we do the Baobab project, we don't use from Black August Los Angeles because that puts people in jeopardy. When we write letters, we tell people don't put, revolutionary greetings and it's the year of the dragon when the prison gates open, the real dragon flies and all that kind of stuff, because that can get people locked up indefinitely in a 4x8 box coffin. So what we want to do is, again, shift the paradigm. So these people are included in the definition of political prisoner. It's not,
I mean, to me, the resolution, it sounds quite simple to me.
sounds
I mean, the resolution seems quite simple to me. If a prisoner goes to jail for social reasons and is convicted, is serving time, and afterwards becomes politicized and is therefore mistreated or their sentence is augmented in a way that it would not have been after they come in contact with certain material, then at that point in time, their incarceration takes on a political hue.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, see but that's why Bob was talking about putting together a group so we can justify that, because people already know that.
Right.
People already know that this happens, but it's rejected as like, well, we can't support you as a political prisoner because you came in with this offense. You came in with a social offense.
well, those two separate things though. How you came in, I mean, because prisoners go in, they're human beings.
So that may be something that needs, just what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Needs to
just
be
talking
reflected
about-
in
that's
this
just talking about
document.
because that could go to several categories. Prisoners go in and convert to any number of philosophies.
Yeah.
Whether they're religious, philosophical, or political, and they may not have came in as that, but they might convert to that. And depending on the position of the religion or the philosophy, vis-a-vis the state that you're living in, that might be problematic or not. I mean, it's not a unusual occurrence. That does happen.
Yeah, so the thing is, we say you should consider them political prisoners because,
Once they become,
once they become.
yeah.
Yeah.
And once they're treated that way.
Yeah, and then they say no,
Because,
they came in as a social.
how they came in is one thing, that's something
But
separate.
the way you treat them is based not on how they came in,
Right.
but because of their current activity.
Yeah, but under this current definition that some people are using, or some organizations are using, aid, organizations that can aid them, they are not considered political prisoners and cannot be considered political prisoners because they came in as social prisoners. So we don't care if you were in a rebellion. We don't care that you led an underground newspaper and that you changed people's lives. We don't care because you came in as a social
That's
prisoner.
purely subjective.
That's not,
Yeah, that's subjective.
Yeah.
We don't wanna deal with, subjective opinions, we wanna deal with objective reality.
I mean,
And the objective reality is, when I first went to prison in '66, I was in the Nation of Islam for a year. And I went to the hole for having a copy of Muhammad's speech. They all of a sudden saw me in a different light. As long as I was playing dominoes and acting a fool, it was all good. But once I started talking about Islam and what the nation talked about, then suddenly their behavior towards me, their attitude towards me changed. And most of the people that were in the hole for having country, you have a copy of the prayer. You go to the hole.
I'm sorry, you said?
Well, I have a real general question. This, again, you brought it back up, but just having a copy of, what was it?
Prayer, Muhammad's speech.
Muhammad's speech. Do prisoners lose all of their constitutional rights? I know you're in prison, right? So, there's some limits. What about your other, are there not rights of prison?
Yeah, like, if you go on a visit, you can't touch whoever it is you're visiting. If you're in the general population, you can have contact. You lose, the board considers the fact that you're in the hole. So it impacts you all negatively.
So you don't have the right to read the
lose
material that
No.
you want to read?
Absolutely not.
I went to go see a client who they were investigating for some terrorist activity, somehow association with, I think it was an underwear bomb or a shoe bomb. And I went out there, and the guard at the federal jail downtown, the NBC, and this guy's like, "So, are you a Muslim?" I was like, the attorney, you're asking the attorney if he's a Muslim?
Right.
What if I was? I don't know what happened. I was like,
Let me cut you short because we,
yeah.
we're supposed to attack. But to draw this to some type of conclusion, is it agreeable that we need to put together an ad hoc
Yes.
committee to scientifically and objectively study this? Is everyone agreeable with that?
Okay, and then Kumi had.
Yes.
I just wanna know about the rest of, we have like 30 minutes. Are we in a discussion section? Are we gonna be writing anything? What's the format for the rest of the meeting?
The current events is what, I'm gonna briefly touch on. And, my subject, as it pertains to Africa, is always Southern Africa. That's the prevailing, to use a nice legal term, of my politicization, exposure to Africa. I wanted to just point out, because I'm sure most of us listen to the news, and we are aware of the crises in South Africa and Namibia around the land and the land seizures. Recently as last week, South Africa withdrew the proposal to amend the Constitution. Of course, we know this is the result of pressure from the UK, the EU, and the implied involvement of the United States. Zimbabwe was the basket case of Southern Africa at one time, we all know that. But now it is in dire straits, not because the land seizures didn't work, but because of the sanctions. It was the sanctions that impoverished Zimbabwe and made the Zimbabwe dollar collapse and nothing. And for that to happen in grave consequences for the entire subcontinent. Because most of the economies in, the southern part of Africa is tied to South Africa. Most of the railways terminate in South Africa. Most of the hydroelectric, wires branch out from South Africa. Clearly, it is the most industrialized country, most sophisticated infrastructure. For South Africa, to collapse, the food, situation in southern Africa would result in starvation of millions of people, it would result in disease. It would approximate Yemen. In fact, it would be even worse in Yemen because of the population involved. And I suspect that at some point, we're gonna have to step to the British consulate over there on Wilshire and let them know that, our people are watching what they do, and we will back South Africa to help. That we would not allow them to impose sanctions on South Africa when the settlers kick back enjoying the ancestral land of the people, the majority of the people. We don't accept that. We're not gonna have another Haiti. The French did to Haiti, we allow, but we're not going to allow, the West to pull South Africa under, because it's the hope of Africa in terms of economic independence. It's unfortunate people come from thousands of miles away to work in the mine in South Africa, to work on the farm. They come from all over. It's the only country on the continent where you find anything comparable to that. No one goes to Zambia to work. What are they gonna do? No one goes to Kenya, even though it was a settler colony, and they have great farms, particular coffee farms. But no one is going to Kenya to work. Everybody is going to South. In fact, Interpol recently issued a document saying that even, criminals from every country on the continent is even going to South Africa. They're hoping that a job in Johannesburg, whether that's true or not is irrelevant. But I just put it on everyone's mind that impending catastrophe is about to happen if we don't do something along the lines of what Trans-Africa did when the struggle against apartheid after 1984 began heating up. Mandela said, and I was at the Oakland Coliseum when he came to speak. He said, I want to thank Black America for his first foreign policy victory. He said, what took you so long? But that was us, our students went off, black workers refused to unload goods from South Africa. And, even Reagan, who, was riding, the strength of his career. His veto of the comprehensive sanction bill was overruled by his own party. Because they said, well, black America might not go for this. Oh, we can't chance it. These niggas might be in the streets. Oh, no. I'm sorry, Mr. President, but we have to override your veto. When we want to, there's no doubt about that. We have shown that we have clout. We are the moral consciousness of this country. When people evaluate America in terms of its tolerance, they look at how it treats us, not how it treats Native Americans, how it treats women, how it treats, Hispanics. How we treat black people as a people is what they evaluated on. And I think that we need to really be prepared to
It's just that, during the anti-apartheid movement, and the anti-colonial struggle, there was a real strong sense of Pan-Africanism, here and on the continent. And the diaspora, that has all but disappeared.
we can rekindle it. A
We have
fire can always be restarted.
And I went to go see the film This is Congo, and I felt stupid and deficient, because, I used to be part of the support movement in turn for in the struggle to decolonize Namibia, Nauru. And I was like, I felt like now I'm compelled to,
But look around, Conrad, look at us, look at our age.
yeah, I know.
We don't have no young people in here.
Exactly.
You know, Conrad, I spoke to a busy today, and she promised, I explained to her that, they're the future, and she, of course, knew that. I wasn't telling her anything she didn't know. I said, but then if you know that, where are y'all? We sick, broke down, dying, and we need y'all.
And they need
And they need us.
yeah. When, I always talk about Congo in my class, and I say Congo is the richest, but the poorest country, right, in the world. And somebody said, that's not true, it was Nigerian guy.
Oh, naturally.
And I said, that's what I said, I'm from Africa, and I know that's like, come on, man. But, yeah.
When I
Glasses, but let me just, but I think every one of you has Congo on your phone. Every one of them.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we don't have a lot of, but there is a movement, there is, Dr. Warren Johnson. He's a younger person, and he's trying to, get people to, Pan-Africanism. He considers himself the prince of Pan-Africanism, but he's actually starting, there's a movement, I believe, to, it may not be at the level that we want it to be, but, I think there are people who are, their consciousness is being raised, and, I think that, that is happening.
Well, there are plenty of little groups, the mass movements of the sixties and the seventies have disintegrated into little sects.
Right.
But we need to reunite these sects into a whole.
We do.
And we capable of it, When I was in the pen, the Aryan Brotherhood, let's think of Mafia, when they were gonna hit a brother, they always came to us. So this ain't racial. Because they know if there's anything that'll make us go off, it's the perception that something is racial. And it would mean that it's aimed at us as a people. And so they want to dispel that type of thinking. They say, oh man, we gotta hit him because he ripped us off. If y'all don't hit him, we're gonna hit him. And they say, oh hell no, we're not gonna hit him because we have no proof that he ripped you off. You may have ripped him off. But look, I said that to say that our people respond to race because we have been treated and mistreated on the basis of what is called race, whatever that means. If we use it as a descriptive term, then we know what it means.
Baba, do you know if brothers and sisters in the UK, for example, or other communities are responding at all?
The UK, definitely, yeah, people have been in the streets.
Okay, and so then there are possibilities of coordination?
Absolutely. We can rebuild the movement, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I have that much confidence. We old, we're getting older, but I think that, our young people will respond to us.
I agree with you, just like I agree with you. And I know I meet young people who have interest, but are themselves caught up in, I would love to be there, but I gotta go to work, right? I gotta work, I got my job to do. And often it's that, whatever. But the sentiment is there, and yes, it's.
But with just the group that you took to South Africa.
Within, some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and just, other young people and the Pan-African Student Unions that still exist on campuses, et cetera.
Absolutely. So we can rebuild the movement, and we need to do it quickly.
Yes.
Because, I was gonna say this, the settlers in South Africa are the most armed civilian group on earth. I mean, they are armed to the teeth, and they will kill thousands of people, to keep the land.
You sure they're more armed than these, folks here in America?
I think they're much proportionately, you know, as a percent of, I think that, you know, they have convinced themselves that they were there first, or as they reached the southern tip of Africa, Africa was moving, yeah, or Africa was moving south at the time we came. So when we hit the plot line, you know, of hit the interior, you know, plateaus, that was just wild animals, and we killed them, and we took the land. What were they? They were still moving south. They have convinced themselves of that. And they're the most unrepentant racists in the world, and they on to the teeth.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's not a, you know, the racists that are here, the white supremacists, you know, that are here, I'm just wondering if they're in competition, because, or if it would be equal. The reason why I'm saying that is, just look at the, you know, the, gun shows that they have. You know, the gun shows that, you know, they bring out our children, you know, and it's real, you know, it's a lot of stuff, and people have been arming themselves.
Okay,
They've been arming themselves for a long time. And
I just wanna say that,
yeah,
you know, people are not coming from Europe or from other settler colonies to help whites here. White racists from all over the world are moving to South Africa. To help, you know, even from Israel, they're moving to South Africa to help train, you know, people in the rural areas.
and how many people are there from it? Is it, you know, how many people do they have, and is it real? You know, I kind of dispute that, I think, but then also, another thing that I want to say in regards to the youth, if you notice, or what I've observed, is that the more that, white people are attacking, women, black women, and black children, there are more people who are really looking at, well, you know what, that person is black, versus, you know, sometimes it used to be where people would just kind of like not even acknowledge or something, you know, they would, well, she's not my sister, or she's not my brother, or he's not my brother. If more people are starting to unify, I think it's just on just the mere fact that there's so much hatred, and people are starting to say, hey, you know what, standing up, like, you know, leave her alone, you know, picking on pregnant women and young children. And people are starting to speak up, and and based on that alone, the more information that they hear, they're gonna turn, there's going to be a change. And the change, you know, the seeds have already been planted, and they're starting to rise up. I think.
I do need to leave like 10 minutes early, but I do want to say I appreciate everyone here, and I know ABC is like dedicated towards the political prisoner conversation, and all conversations here, and that, you know, I think you have my message to kind of go forward with that, and I think like as a group especially, and I don't speak though, as a group, we very much support the idea that there are more political prisoners. I just want to clarify that it is a federation that's broken up into groups that act in different ways, and a lot is connected to Jericho as well. Mm-hmm. So I think even, and I know that everyone in our group doesn't update the internet. So as far as like our group goes, I know we're very in support of kind of furthering this, but also figuring out what ways, one, we can help, but two, we can like even just spread the words about different people and you know, I don't want to say a database, but just, you know, figure out how we could get people that other people can write to. And I'm sure people have names that we don't have and stuff like that. So we'd be interested in getting that, but also in, you know, helping or just, you know, being there to observe how people want to define it so that we can also play our role in continuing that work. And all the work that's done, but I think we came here today with that in mind. Yeah, great. So I do appreciate everyone else.
Appreciate you, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you all soon.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
TJ. You wanna say something? No.
I don't think there's anybody else.
No, there isn't, actually.
Okay, I just wanted to get that basic info out about Southern Africa, because it's always on my mind. You know,
I have another question about it. Has there been any news of, how are, neighboring countries responding?
when Namibia is going through identically the same thing,
Mhm.
and recently I had the idea that, that all of these countries that were on the settler rule, which I got from, listening to a person on radio. He says, that the infrastructure of all these countries are tied together,
Mhm.
and they of course are talking about, particularly Namibia and South Africa and Angola, are talking about forming, some type of combat alliance, not militarily, but to combat what they commonly up against.
Mhm.
Recently, the Portuguese have financed
That's an interesting, not militarily, at some point it may come to
Oh,
that.
it's gonna come to that, it's gonna come to that. But
Perhaps
they,
Africans should stop trying to avoid the inevitable.
right, but
Start
see,
preparing for it.
what they talking about is trying to pull a AU
Mhm.
into the situation, and, a couple of months ago, there's evidence that, Lisbon had financed a dummy rebel group in Cabinda.
Mhm.
Again,
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
This is oil is in Angola, and they are blowing up, facilities. So is concerned about, how Europe and particularly the US, but I just wanted to say that, the world, Europe is not waiting on America to take the lead on matters of race. Europe itself is racist. In fact, racism came from Europe here. It's not the other way around. Australia is a racist settler colony, and they offered recently to, even Georgia, Soviet Union, have admitted, farmers from South Africa. And believe it or not, people from the old socialist countries are showing up in South Africa. The government has confiscated their passports. They're showing up, they have military training. These people have serious military training. So we need to be on guard. We shouldn't get caught sleeping and then reacting. We always reacting. When I was in prison, our biggest problem was we always react to the racist hitting or killing one of us. Yeah, we never took the initiative. Not, I was in prison for 12 years, not once did we take the initiative. We might attack an individual, white or Latino, but they attack us as just a whole bunch of white boys run down on blacks. We have toothbrushes with razor blades melted into them. They have big bone crushers. And why is it that so many brothers got killed? Why is it that they still getting killed? Because they want to box or fight with razor blades. And they find that what was happening in the county jail a while back. Who was getting attacked? Who is always getting attacked? We are. We always reacting. We should be tired of reacting.
yeah, and I just like to say two things quickly when you.
No, I'm finished.
One is there also needs to be an anti-slavery movement.
Mhm.
I mean, there needs to be like an anti-slavery initiative. Because this whole re-enslavement of folks, needs to be done. And there needs to be some thought, some action put into that. The other thing, I mean, that's on a national level, international level, but on a local level, we had this issue with Taco. Now, for some reason, violence amongst political organizations or done by political people from political organizations is increasing. There have been rapes, there have been assaults, there has been a certain amount of violence that has people just frantic almost. And there have been meetings and stuff, and then they're looking, like, contacting me, it's like, well, what do we do? And I mean, I can only talk from experience, but I say, you know, this is not some well-oiled machine where you say, hey, James, you know, set it into motion and stop it. But it is really gotten to the point, you know, where a person snatched or took the mic from sister and Barbara Morrison, and then he got beat down. And then, you know, sister got raped by Leimert Park from somebody who used to work at Chugo's and with Africa. And just heard about another rape today. And these so-called political people, you know, we have this code of conduct that we talked about, we worked on. And I just think that this, you know, if we don't let folks know that this kind of behavior is unacceptable and there are consequences to it, it's gonna continue either by the corruption of the individual or the people getting a green light to do it from somebody else.
I have one question, is there a resistance movement to the, trying to take land back on that, by the white people, in South Africa?
Trying to take what back?
Land.
Yeah, that's what the, you know, the economic freedom,
Right.
No, the other way, the white people resisting.
No, I'm saying, is the black people resisting, the white people to try to take the land?
That's what that is.
that's what they're.
That's right, that's what the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
about
definitely, they broke up, you know, Julius Malema was expelled from the, you know, ANC as the youth leader, but, he's incredible.
That's why he founded, Economic Freedom Party.
Absolutely, the black,
There's a
definitely, you
new
know,
party down there.
ready to go off.
Black first, land first, right? Black first, land first, and, you know, specifically around.
The settlers trying to play that Khoisan
Right.
Bantu thing, what the Khoisan, you know, Julius, you know, Malema did, but the Khoisan are Africans.
They're right, exactly.
And we are Africans,
And
you know, and we
we
ain't
are
some,
not falling for it, right, generally speaking.
who here knows what Afrikaner means?
European, version of Africa.
No, it means African. They claim that they are
Yeah,
African.
right, like American, right?
Yes, it's
Go
just
there,
right,
call
but
themselves American, go there, call themselves African,
Yeah.
right?
But
Name another continent, Australia, and call themselves that.
Yeah. To be the true Africans.
Right.
They say they were there first. We may not have been in the Cape first, but, we were everywhere else first.
And when they never been able to survive. You know, the sun, and, you know, the sun had killed them. You know, so I mean, that doesn't even make sense, really. You know?
Well, it's like the white man in Kenya, you know, it was favorable to white settlement. The Cape is like, they have a Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's not equatorial.
They have a very Mediterranean climate. Oh, it's 7 o'clock? Oh, okay.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
It is 7.
701.
Wait, they just hit that one, right?
Can I ask a question? Do you think that it would be appropriate to have such, two things, one, maybe have like a state of the race? You know, state of the race, if it doesn't have it nationally, at least here in Los Angeles.
Definitely.
That's number one, because, you know, as James is talking about the code of conduct, you know, we don't have a unifier. You know, we're not really unified. When you ask one person this, you might get one answer. If you ask them that, you'll get another answer. There should be some kind of unifier. And I think that state of the race would kind of address that.
I
And
totally
then,
agree.
thank you. And then the second thing that I have, that another question that I raised, and I really think it's time. I'm not sure exactly what the form would look like, but I think that there needs to be truth and reconciliation commissions And the only, such as, I guess, we kind of like on the line of what happened in South Africa, but, I know that there's been documentation, but actually a formalized, truth commission. And the only, appropriate and acceptable, reconciliation is reparations. And we have documentation from the UN saying that it's needed, but I think the atrocities that have happened, that continue to happen to our people, people forget. They've actually forgotten, or even our own people, they don't know, and they've forgotten, what has happened and what continues to happen to our people. So do you think that, as an attorney, do you think that should be